Mindscape. Today we are going to know about the phylogenetic tree. A phylogenetic tree, it is also known as the evolutionary tree. It is like a family tree. There is a ancestor, descendants. So here the descendants we call it as species, and the ancestor they are the nodes. So it shows who is related to whom and who came from which ancestor. For example, human and chimpanzee they are cousins because they share a recent ancestor. Like a part of a tree has root, branches, nodes, leaf and clade. So like that, this phylogenetic tree it has roots, which is the ancestor, like the great great grandparent. Then branches, like line of evolution. Then there is a node, that is a common ancestor point where one group slits into. Then leaf, it is a tip, present day species. Then clade is one ancestor plus all its children, like one full family branch. Think of it as a family chart of evolution. Now there are types of tree. Rooted one, it shows the ancestor and direction of evolution. Unrooted, it shows only the relationship and not the direction. Cladogram shows who is related but not how much change. Then phylogamy is about showing both relationship but how much change has done, like branch length, what is mattered. The length, about the length we can know by the phylogram. Then unrooted, we know that when the tree have a common ancestor on each node it is referred to as rooted, and when there is no rooted tree it does not share a common ancestor with the rooted tree. So with a common ancestor the tree nodes is always left out, with creating an unrooted phylogenetic tree. Bifurcating tree, that have only two branches or leaf, it is bifurcating tree. It can divide into rooted and unrooted bifurcated tree. Then multifurcated tree, it have from arising from the bifurcated tree, multiple branches can be found on a single node, that is a multifurcated. Then special type of phylogenetic tree. About the dendrogram, what is the dendrogram? It is a diagrammatic representation. It is known as dendrogram because of its broad term for any tree. It is phylogenetic or not. Then cladogram, it depicts the branching pattern. As a result, in the interior nodes and do not represent the ancestor, and its branching length does not correspond to the time, the relative degree of character. Then chronogram, it is a kind of phylogenetic tree which use length of its branch for time representation. The phylogram, a phylogenetic tree, it have a branch length according to the change in the character, and it is known as the phylogram. So phylogenetic tree, it is called chronogram. It displays time by the length of its branch. Then Dahlgrenogram, it is a diagram that shows phylogenetic tree in cross section. Methods to compare DNA and protein. So there are two methods by which the trees can be made. The UPGMA method assumes same speed of evolution, and NJ, that is a neighbor joining, which is more flexible and widely used method. These are the example by similarities, distance method, and by logic or statistic character, maximum parsimony, the shortest pathway, fewest changes, that is a method, and maximum likelihood, like Bayesian, use probability or computer models. So the data which is used is DNA sequencing, protein sequencing, or a whole genome. Like DNA sequencing consists of mitochondrial DNA or rRNA. For example, rRNA was used to discover the three domain of like bacteria, archaea and eukaryote. Then there is a molecular clock. Mutation in DNA happens slowly like a clock. If two species differ by 5 mutations, we can estimate how long ago they separated. Fossil help to check this clock. So it is useful to study the evolution in medicines, to track the virus like COVID-19, in conservation to protect the species that are unique, branching in forensics to check the diseases spread like HIV case, and the problems and limitations that it facing is sometimes different species look similar, like convergent evolution. Bacterial swim gene like horizontal gene transfer which confuse the tree. Incomplete data can give wrong results. Example, tree of life in 1990s, three domains like bacteria, archaea and eukarya. Was 1990, this was the example of tree of life, and human and chimpanzee tree, they are very closely relatives. In COVID-19 also phylogenetic trees show different variations. So the root represents the ancestor, the node represents the split, the branch is showing the evolution, and leaf is the species. So the cladogram only relation it shows, phylogram relation plus the changes that occurs, that is a phylogram. It is built using the DNA, protein or morphology, and it is used in evolution, medicines and conservation. So phylogenetic tree, it is known as the evolutionary tree, and it represents the evolutionary relationship between the set of organism or a group of organism. We call it as taxa, a singular taxon. So the tree tip, it is represented as a descendant group of taxa. We call it as species. There are nodes that are present on the tree. These nodes, they are representing the common ancestors. There are two descendants, they split from a same node, they are known as single sister group. Then the root, there are types of phylogenetic tree like rooted and unrooted. So the rooted one, it has a basal node, whereas unrooted one does not have a basal node. So because of the unrooted one do not have a basal node, so the origin of all the species is not indicated. Whereas the rooted one, we can know the origin of species because a single species, it is considered as an ancestor of all the species. For example, we represent a Q letter. So Q is considered as an ancestor of all the species. So it is easy to find out which one is the older species and which one is the new species. Then there is bifurcating tree. The rooted and unrooted tree, they can be bifurcating or multifurcating. Like we can get labeled and unlabeled one. The labeled rooted tree, it has exactly two descendant species that arise from the particular node, whereas the unrooted we don't know because it doesn't have a basal node. So the unrooted bifurcating tree takes the form of unrooted tree. So free tree with three neighboring at each internal node. So now what is a dendrogram? It is a branching diagram that represents the relationship of similarities among the entire groups. In a tree diagram, we can show the taxonomic relationship where the phylogenetic tree are involved in the true history of evolution. In unrooted tree, it states only the relationship between the organism without showing common ancestor. So each branch, we know that the tree has various clades, branches. So the branches, we call it clade, and the end of each clade, that is a leaf. So the clade has only one leaf, that is a simplifolious, whereas two leaves are there in a clade, so it is bifolious, and so on. Then cladogram, it is a diagram. It is used in cladistic. It shows the relationship among organisms. Dendrogram, it is used in computational biology for clustering of gene, for illustration of the clustering of gene. So cladogram is not an evolutionary tree and it does not correlate with the ancestral tree. So a single cladogram can give rise to many evolutionary tree and can be read in many possible ways for construction of the phylogenetic tree. Then molecular biomarker like RNA, DNA and other genetic material, they all morphological marker like skull and notochord, they are used as a parameter for construction of the cladogram. So cladogram is a diagram, and this diagram, it shows about the relationship of closely related organism. It is a type of phylogenetic tree, but it is only showing the relationship between the clades and the common ancestor. For example, cladogram show humans, they are related to chimpanzee than the gorilla, but it does not show the evolutionary time or distance from the common ancestor. And it is like the tree diagram which is drawn using lines. The node of cladogram represent the splitting of two groups of common ancestor. So clade are built using molecular differences instead of morphological characteristics. So cladogram can be constructed using the correct morphological and behavioral data. Then phylogenetic tree, it shows the relationship between the organism, the characteristic, genetic background, and mostly the evolutionary relationship. If we are comparing the cladogram and phylogenetic tree, then the phylogenetic tree has more value if we discuss the relationship of organism with respect to the ancestor and evolution. So phylogenetic tree is drawn like a branching tree, and with the branching length it is proportional to the evolutionary distance, unlike the cladogram. Sister taxa is term that describe the two lineages that come from the same branch point or node. A rooted phylogenetic tree show common ancestor of all the species in tree, and while the unrooted phylogenetic tree it does not. So a basal taxon is a lineage that does not branch again after it branch from the root. Once it is branched, then it will not branch again. Then a polytomy. What is a polytomy? It is a branch of more than two species. So polytomies appear when we don't have enough information to determine the branch placements. So how can we read a phylogenetic tree? Each branch of a tree represents speciation or form of a new species. So the new lineage have different characteristics than the species before them. When looking at a phylogenetic tree, you will notice that one side has a tip of a branch, that is a taxa labeled, and the side represent the present and the opposite side represent the past. So the order of species on the tip of the branch doesn't mean anything. You can flip the tree at a branching point and it does not change the meaning of the tree. So what is an outgroup in a cladogram? Cladogram is a diagram that depicts the relationship with existing between the organism by depicting them as a branch tree. They can be generated using multiple sources of information such as DNA sequence or body morphology. So what is an outgroup? It is a cladogram is a distantly related organism which serve as a reference point. For example, when we draw a cladogram for various hominin subtype which precedes modern human being like a chimpanzee or gorilla can serve as an outgroup. So outgroup is often considered to be closer to the ancestor state than the rest of the organism on the cladogram.